we're looking at the rod bearing, and the rod bearings look fantastic. Actually, this one looks like it has some issues. Ooh, there's a lot of nasty in there, but that's to be expected.
Let's get wrenching.
What's going on, guys? It's Justin here, and welcome back for part 3 of our 305 revival, where we take this Junkyard Fresh 305, we go through it, check it out, and give it a second life. We're going to be tearing to the inside of this thing and checking everything out, giving it a once-over, and getting it ready to head to the machine shop. But before we get to that, make sure to like and subscribe to the Summit Racing YouTube channel so you don't miss out on engine content like this, tool reviews, and so much more. But yeah, so the general plan for today is roll this thing over, get the pan off it, look at some rod and main bearings, get the cylinder heads off, timing cover, cam out, lifters, push rods, and just kind of show you guys how to disassemble a small block Chevy. The machine shop step is crucial in deciding on what you're gonna do with your engine. So I'm gonna throw some PPE on and let's get to it. So now that we got our aprons on, and this is actually a really great tip. One of the things I love in the garage is I have a couple of these Summit Racing aprons. I have one for teardown, getting greasy, and then I have a nice one for engine assembly. It just keeps things out of the way, that kind of stuff, and you have a bunch of great extra pockets to put stuff in. So we're just gonna start ripping easy stuff out. So I had this distributor in there when we were doing some other testing, and then we're gonna tear the rockers off right away too. So I'm not sure if I'm going to reuse the factory rockers yet. If I do, I'll go ahead and replace the lock nuts. But just in case, just for sake of teardown, I'm going to keep these organized in my valve train organization tray over here. We're just going to go ahead and tear all the rockers off while we have it topside right now. And I'll update you guys after I get done with that. So I got the rockers and push rods yanked off this thing. Now I'm gonna go ahead and yank the balancer off and the timing cover, then the cylinder heads. Then I'm gonna go ahead and roll it over. We'll pop the oil pan off and start looking at some rod and main bearings. So just to give you guys an idea of what we got going on. As you can see on these timing covers, it has this retention groove right here that grips the front of the oil pan seal. So, this is our first general inspection. This is the first we've seen inside the engine besides looking in the valley. And nothing jumps out at me per se. That's like crazy worn out or anything like that. Obviously the chain has a little bit of play in it, but I think they all do. This is a single row chain, so it's a factory chain. So we're going to go ahead and get the cylinder heads off it, then we'll roll it over and tear the oil pan off. So I got all the bolts out. There it goes. I'm just going to carry this head over here and set it out of the way for a minute. We'll come back and look at these once we get both sides off. Same deal as before. I'm just going to try to give it a little wiggle. Get a couple smacks with the Deadblow. Wiggle it till it comes off. This engine's pretty tired. You can kind of see there's cross hatching here, and then it's all spore smooth here. So what cross hatching does, it promotes oil adhesion to the cylinder wall. An engine rides on an entire bath of oil. In theory, everything should be on a thin coat of oil. Nothing should be like metallic to metallic. Here, where the cross hatching's worn out, this doesn't allow it to hold oil anymore, and it beats up the rings, and eventually it's not sealing good here because there's no oil to seal it. This hole, knowing what I know about our test, should look the best because it was the highest compression. So before I go ahead and roll this thing over, I'm actually going to yank all the lifters out. These ones actually come out pretty easy, which is good. And we're just gonna look at them one. They look good. They don't look like a bunch of crazy wear. You'll notice the thing about flat tappet lifters is if you don't break an engine in properly or there's too much seat pressure at the valve, there's a couple things that can do it, but these will actually wear off. You'll wear through this and you'll flatten the cam, and it's a whole thing about it. A little quick tip, if the lifters don't want to come out this easy, do not force them out of the top of the hole. The better way to deal with it is to pop the cam out and then knock them down, because what ends up happening is they get a lip or there's carbon buildup, and then you drag that through the lifter bore and then you mess the lifter bore up, and fixing lifter bores can be expensive. Go ahead and remove our factory head gaskets. I'm just kind of throwing them out of the way now. So we got this thing flipped over, and now it's time to pull the oil pan off it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull all the small bolts out of the rails, and then we'll yank the end ones out and get the pan off. Ooh, there's a lot of nasty in there, but that's to be expected. The fun part about building engines is finding stuff like this. So obviously the rear, this has a one-piece rear main. Obviously it was leaking at some point, and someone decided the proper way to fix the leak was to put a massive amount of silicone on the outside, and it looks like they stopped the oil leak, but that is not the right way to fix that. And so, yeah, just kind of looking, it looks like there's silicone all the way around it. And so once we get the flex plate off, we got to take a better look at that, but that is less than ideal. I don't want to bore you guys with tearing the entire engine apart, because once you know how to take one main cap and one rod cap off, it's pretty self-explanatory. Besides that one score right there, just look how gorgeous that is. If you notice, these ones are marked forward. There's an F on all of them, so they go this way in an arrow. But I am going to take a stamp, and I'm going to stamp every one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, because rod caps are meant to have a home. You can't mix and match them and change them, or else you'll change the line bore on the engine and it'll be a bad time. If you get a bunch of misplaced rod caps and all that, you have to pay to get the engine line bored if you don't put them back in the proper location. So it is important to mark them and all that, and we're going to do that. We'll do the same thing with the rods. Like, I'll stamp these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just so I know where they came from. We're going to yank the number 1 rod off, and we're looking at the rod bearing, and the rod bearings look fantastic. Actually, this one looks like it has some issues. It looks actually almost like the bearings are delaminating, like it's a coolant contamination issue, so maybe this thing had a bad head gasket at one point. And these are what they call press pin rods and pistons. These aren't free floating. What you do is you heat up the end of the rod, and then you either chill this pin or have this pin at room temperature, but then you go ahead and throw it all together, and then while the end of the rod's hot, you push the wrist pin through, and then when it cools down, it locks it. So that keeps it from moving around and the pin hitting the sidewalls. A lot of aftermarket pistons and performance pistons go to what they call a free floating pin, where you have either C-clips or spiral clips or even Teflon buttons that hold the center pin in place. That's like a common upgrade on high performance engines.
So we got all the connecting rods and pistons out of this thing, and just like I had talked about on the front bearing, the rest of the bearings had similar looks. They were just kind of beat up, wore out, had some weird coloration issues, which I think is from coolant contamination. Still very usable, you know, not hammered out like it was going to spin a bearing, but it was definitely time for them to be replaced. So this engine is perfectly worn out, which is what we wanted to see. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and rip the timing chain off this thing. I'm going to get our flex plate off. I'm going to get the crank out and the cam removed too. And then basically this block will be almost bare. We have some more stuff to take off, but we'll get to that. So guys, I'm not the smartest crane in the box. The one thing I forgot to pull out of this thing was the fuel pump push rod. And if you don't pull that out, you won't get the camshaft out of it. Go ahead, pull that out and remove your fuel pump push rod. Boom. And now our camshaft's removed. Generally speaking, this thing looks in really good shape. It is a factory camshaft, so we're not going to reuse it. But it's crazy to look at a high mileage old camshaft like that and really see what the wear pattern's like, and how the lifters spin and how they work and everything. It's actually super, super cool. Like, I don't know how good you guys can see this, but if you look at the wear mark on, say, this lobe right here, it's very, very faint. And then as you get to the crown, you can see where the angle is ground into it, how it contacts the full face of the lobe, and then slowly tapers back off. So that's super cool. I've never seen one with this, or I guess paid attention to the wear marks, but these ones look really, really neat on this one. Now I'm gonna go ahead and yank the flex plate off this thing. I think I'm gonna be able to get it off on the stand, but we shall see. So I touched on this a little bit earlier, but now we have a better view of it. This is a one-piece rear main style small block, not a two-piece rear main. So the end of the crank, the quick way to tell is that the end of the crank is completely round and has a seal housing here that goes over it. A two-piece rear main block, you have the seal is built into the rear main cap, and then you have two halves of a seal, and you feed the first half in, and then you put the second half in the top of the cap and then bolt it on. But these seem to work really well. We touched on it earlier, but there was a ton of silicone around this one. Like, it was leaking around the seal, not necessarily here. So someone went and siliconed it up to make it not leak, which whatever works. So I got all the hardware removed, and now we're just gonna tap it off. Got that removed. Now, it's always good to note that there is a gasket behind this, and I always recommend actually using the gasket and not siliconing this. But anytime you ever have this off, you should just go ahead and put a new rear main in it. That's my tech tip of the day. Now, I can't stress this enough. Note what the order and direction you take these off in. After I get them cleaned up, I'll go ahead and mark them all. So you can kind of see on this bearing, any one of these lines that you see runs this way was a piece of contamination that got ran through the bearing. I can feel a surface difference on this bearing. Like, where those dark spots are, feel like there's something. The bearings aren't copper, but they've certainly had some stuff ran through them, which is very typical for a high mileage street engine. With like the rods out of it, it spun over like glass. Like, this is a really nice engine on the inside, in my opinion. Yeah, let's get the crank out and get this thing all done. So I don't know what would cause this per se, but you heard me talk about the lower rear thrust bearing and how good it looked. But look at the upper one, how it's freaking copper. Like, this bearing is worn out. Like, you wouldn't put that back in something. And the back is copper as well. Well, that's pretty much it for our 305 teardown. What I need to do next is rotate this thing over, clean it all up, so we can do like a deep dive inspection and measure a bunch of parts and decide what we're doing at the machine shop. And I can't wait to show you guys what we find. So until next time, I'm Justin with Summit Racing, and the golden question is, what are you rebuilding?